She's going to share her Sunday message.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you're all safe and cozy in your homes with this snowstorm that we got. I got up in the middle of the night to see these big flakes coming down and watch the snow, and it was so fine I really couldn't see it. I didn't even know it was snowing, although my phone said it's snowing. So, but we apparently got about 6 inches here in Roseville, and expecting a few more inches this afternoon. So we're all in the right place, cozy in our homes. So welcome. And today we're going to continue on this March idea of what if. Today's message title is What We'll See Will Defy Explanation. And what I'm going to be focusing on today is expectancy. What do we expect? How might my life in the world change if I really believed good is always unfolding, no matter what the outer circumstances look like? That's what we're focusing on today. What if we expected the highest and best all the time? How would our world look? What if we all did that? So let's look at belief and expectancy. And let's open to the joy and possibility of choosing to expect better of ourselves, better of others, better of the world. How might my life look? How might your life look if we fully believed good is always unfolding? There's a quote from the 365 Days of Richer Living by Raymond Charles Barker and Ernest Holmes. And this is what they have to say about it, which I think is just a really wonderful thing to drink in. Today, my faith, my hope, my expectancy look up and out and behold a limitless abundance present everywhere, flowing through all things, a limitless love giving of itself to everything, an infinite peace enveloping all. And behind it all, and around it, and through it, a joy forever singing a song of happiness and fulfillment. What a beautiful outlook on life. That's Raymond Charles Barker and Ernest Holmes in the 365 Days of Richer Living. And we know Ernest Holmes said there's a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can consciously use it. We kind of embrace that. We kind of all accept that. And yet, question is, why don't we use it more effectively? So let's just take a look at this today. Expectancy is living as though the good we desire is already unfolding. What if we expected the great no matter what the outward experience in the world presents? What if good was all that was happening around us? Isn't that a nice thing to think about? What if that was all there was? All good, expecting all good. And we know that sometimes good goes hand in hand with perhaps sorrow or something we would call bad. Something happens and we can then see, oh, this is what came out of that. This is something good. uh, I think about, have you ever had a niece or a sister or somebody that is 15, 16 years old and pregnant, unwed, pregnant, and everybody's like, oh no, that's too bad, how terrible, until that little baby's born. And then when that little baby's born, we're all ecstatic, and the love we share, and how we're ecstatic that this little person came into the world. First we're sorrowful and then joy comes from that. It's like the story about the little boy who was standing at the big pile of manure with a shovel, and he was shoveling and he was shoveling and he was shoveling, and somebody walks up to him and he said, well, little boy, why are you shoveling that manure? And he said, well, with all this manure, I just know there's a pony in here someplace. What an attitude. That is kind of typical of how life works. Even when things look pretty dicey, there is good to be found. And this isn't blind optimism. It's a courageous choice to expect the highest and the best. And when we live in expectancy, we challenge the limitations. And we intentionally plant these seeds that are our desires. What is my desire in life? Plant that seed, knowing that Spirit created everything and everyone, creates in, as, and through each of us. So if I did have that board behind me like we do at the center, you'd have 3 points. And I'm starting with this first point, and it is this: the courage to expect beyond experiences. And let's face it, we're always going to be given some things by life. Some of them are really good. Some of them are beautiful. Some of them are scary. Some of them are painful. And some of them really tempt us to throw the towel in and say, I can't do this. This is too hard for me. Some of those experiences are like that. But to expect better is courageous. And as we expect the good, we are planting those seeds. A good example of this is, you probably remember this, it was in 2010. There was a mine collapse in Chile. 33 miners were trapped 2,300 feet under the ground in this mine, completely cut off from their other co-workers. They had no idea if the people on the top really understood exactly where they were. They didn't know if there was any way for them to get out. They were just there. But they decided that they were going to expect to be found and to be saved. And so they had a small amount of food. They had some tuna and they had some milk. I don't know how the milk managed to last, but maybe they drank sour milk. I think I would if I thought I was going to starve. So instead of drinking out of all this the first or second days, instead of eating all that tuna right away, these 33 guys, they rationed it. So they'd get a couple teaspoons of tuna, a couple slurps of milk every 48 hours. That's what they decided to do. They didn't know if anybody was coming for them, but they decided that's what they were going to expect. And the other things they did is they broke the miners into teams. So you kind of had a buddy system, uplifting, encouraging each other, praying. There was one guy who had a pretty good sense of humor, and he did his best to keep these guys optimistic. They were there for 17 days without any communication from the outer world, from up on top of the mine. 17 days they sipped on that milk and they ate some tuna and they tried to encourage each other. Then there was a drill that came down, and somehow, and I don't know exactly how they did it, they were able to convey the message: there's 33 of us down here, we're alive and we're well. And then it was about another 50 days before this capsule came down and they were able to take these guys one by one out of this mine. So they were down there for what, 69 days. And the reason they survived is considered to be the fact that they decided to expect to be found. Now, if they hadn't taken that kind of a mindset, would they've eaten all the food and drunk all the milk the first couple days and they'd have died. But they decided to expect the best. And when we do that, we can keep the hope alive. We can realize there could be something better down the road. We can expect that good is always happening. And we can all do this. We can know that for certain good is always happening. We can know that that's happening, and that good can be our guide, even when things look dark. And I can't imagine anybody being in a situation darker than that cave was. So that was the first one, courage to expect beyond appearances. Second point is this: expectancy as a collective invitation for healing. Well, we see all these headlines, you watch the news, even when you talk to your neighbor or maybe even your relative, it can get pretty heavy. Things can be polarized, divisive, and the idea of expecting good can really seem pretty naive because things look so dark. If we don't look on the bright side, it could look even impossible, but this is where expectancy really matters. This is the time, and we're probably in part of those times now. There's war going on in Iraq, and all the politics and the we're right, you're wrong attitude, and the stuff you see on TV, it really can take you down. And as you know, you can have relatives or friends that's difficult to talk to because we're such at odds with how we believe things should go. But our expectancy of good, if we expect good, that rubs off on other people, and we can open their eyes too to being optimistic and letting them know that there is justice and love and peace in this world. It's not all negative. And we can be examples of that by keeping our thoughts positive and constructive. We can be examples of people who believe that good does win out. So expectancy as a collective invitation, that causes healing. When we project that light to others, that's a healing light. And then the third point is expectancy as a spiritual stance in troubled times. And living in expectancy, it's more than positive thinking. It's really being willing to cooperate with the law. You know how I like to talk about our teaching symbol. Teaching symbol is a circle on the top. The top portion is our consciousness. That's where we set our intentions. That's where we plant our seed thoughts into what we might call the middle part, which is the law. And we might also call it the soil. That's where our seed thoughts go. And this is how we cooperate with the law, by keeping our thoughts positive and constructive, expecting the good, declaring the good. And with all the challenges in the world today, it is tempting to succumb to fear and division and despair. And yet this expectancy of good calls us to go within to that spirit that we all have within us, and just know that there is a power there that can lift us to something higher and better. And this isn't about avoiding challenges. We're not saying, oh no, everything is fine. You know, that Pollyanna kind of thing that sometimes I get accused of. It's not about that. It's about knowing that we have spirit within us that can get us through these things. When we have a challenge, it's the idea of facing that challenge, facing that monster. And how can we do that? Because we know there's a power within us. Expectancy as a spiritual stance in troubled times, and we can expect good because of that power within each and every one of us. So let's remember that expectancy is more than positive thinking. It's that intentional act of aligning our consciousness with beliefs of the power for good that's always, always available to us. Spirit is present everywhere and always ready to respond to our highest expectancy. We have to play our part too. We have to be expecting the highest and best in order to receive it. So this week, it's kind of a big ask, but I've got some suggestions that you might want to take a look at this week. One of them is to do some journaling. And in this journaling, you might want to ask, what am I truly expecting in a particular area of my life? What am I expecting with my nasty boss? What am I expecting with my brother-in-law who I don't get along with? What am I expecting of my children who never call me? What am I expecting of my financial life? What am I expecting of my health? So do some journaling around something like that. Ask the question, ask a good question. What am I truly expecting in this particular area? And then notice when you ask that question, what are the feelings that come up? Are they feelings of fear? Are they feelings of remembering how this has always worked in the past precedents? You know, if you've never gotten along with your boss and never gotten along with your mother, if you've always had this health problem, if you've always had financial problems, you can be bogged down by that past expectation. Whatever has happened in the past, you might start fearing that, or you might get bogged down by the headlines of the day. Get up in the morning, start watching the news, and where you had some good intentions, all of a sudden you're starting down the slippery slope because things are so negative. So the idea is to write something down. What do I truly expect in a particular area, and then shift any of those thoughts of the past or the fear of what's going on in the world now. Shift those expectations to the highest and best that you can envision. And this might take a little time to set an intention to do this. Sit down and what am I truly expecting in this area, and shift it to thinking about the highest and best for you, your community, the world, whatever you decide to focus on. So that's a good place to start. And then you want to meditate on that possibility. Meditate on the good that can unfold. See that perfect outcome in your mind. Consider, how might my life changed if I lived as if good were inevitable? What a lovely thought. And we have control of our thoughts. We can do this. We can say, how would my life look? How would my life change if I lived as though good were inevitable? What a wonderful way to focus our thoughts. So the other thing is each morning to say out loud a specific good you expect to see that day. I told you this is kind of a big assignment, but these are the things that can change your life. This is how we take the bull by the horns. This is how we say, I'm tired of feeling bad. I'm tired of this or that. This is how we change our lives. And we can whatever you want that good to be, one specific good. You might say something like, today I see the clarity in this situation that has been real cloudy for me. A light is shined on this particular area of my life. You might say, today I receive an act of kindness. Or you might say, today I'm going to give an act of kindness to somebody, something unexpected. Just intend to be kind to somebody that you just decide this is the thing to do today. You might decide, I'm telling you stuff that I kind of like. For instance, today I'm filled with energy. Today I have energy to do what is for me to do. Say that out loud. I mean, that's what I'm going to say out loud. Today I have the energy to do what is for me to do. And then throughout the day, notice if you're having some doubts or being cynical about this, then just replace that doubt or that concern with a positive affirmation. I can do this. I am open to being the energetic person that I can be to do what is for me to do. And when we come to these setbacks where something happens that, oh, that's not working, we can take a breath, we can stop, we can pause, and we can re-anchor in this idea that we're not doing this alone, that spirit is within us. So just to reiterate, do some journaling. What am I truly expecting in a particular area? And then, if you've got these negative fears or something, shift and know the positive, know the highest and best good, envision that. So journal that. What am I truly expecting in a particular area? Then meditate on it and ask yourself the question, how might my life changed if I lived as though good were inevitable? Meditate on that. Then each morning, say out loud a statement of the specific good that you expect. I expect my energy level to be such that I can do what is for me to do. And then notice during the day if you're slipping, if you're going down that slippery slope. And if that's the case, remember just to stop, pause, take a deep breath, and go within and know that spirit is there to help you. So let your words, actions, and presence defy the belief that outer conditions have the final word. Outer conditions do not have the final word. I am open to and I expect the highest and best. So I would like to ask you to get comfortable where you're at. I'm sure you already are. And I would like to speak a spiritual mind treatment. I say it in first person as though it's for me, but just know that this prayer, this affirmative prayer, is for you as well. So let's just take a deep breath, relax. And I know there is but one power in the universe, that unseen, that's always working on my behalf. And I know it's love and peace and joy and abundance, balance. I know that power has the perfect solution to any perceived dilemma in my life. And I know I am united with it. That very power that created everything and everyone also expresses life in, through, and as its creation, in, through, and as me, in, through, and as each of us. And with that very power within, I claim that my life is lifted by the expectancy of good. My personal life, my relationships, the abundance in my life, my health, and the good for my community. The expectation of the highest and best for our country and the rest of the world. And even when things appear less than positive, I know something is moving in the unseen for my greater good. And I'm grateful that this is the way the law works. I planted this seed. Jesus said, it is done unto you as you believe. And I know these words of positive expectancy are powerful. I'm grateful that this is how it works. And I release these words now to the law for perfect manifestation. And so it is.